good luck painting a sky with a filbert brush. So anyway, as I fling it down onto the ground. Hi, I'm Kevin Hill, and today we're going to do something different. You guys have been asking, at least a lot of you have been asking, about, what does each brush do specifically? And I'm going to try to give you kind of what I think of the best thing you can do with each specific brush, kind of what it was designed for. So hopefully this is interesting. All right, let's get started. This may seem a little obvious, but it's actually, when you think about it, it's kind of interesting. The best thing you can do with this 2-inch brush, one of the things that you certainly couldn't replace it with, a sky. I mean, you could do it with a 1-inch, but that's about it. I mean, good luck painting a sky with a filbert brush. So anyway, as I fling it down onto the ground. Anyway, this is it with your 2-inch brush. To me, this is the best tool for the job when it comes to just blocking in the large areas of the sky. Of course, you go lighter at the bottom, darker at the top. You can do all of your blending right here, because when it comes to just at least the background section of the sky, really you can just do the whole thing with a 2-inch brush. Pretty quick and easy. So definitely something that's not replaceable. So that's kind of hopefully that gives you an idea how we're going to do the video. I'm just going to show you the number one thing that you do with that brush. But if you try to use something else, like a low quality large brush for like painting the house. I've got tons of those, but they're for painting the house, right? It just doesn't come out as smooth. You don't get this airbrush. You get an airbrushed look when you use a higher quality brush. So that's the difference. I never really talk about the quality of the brushes, but if you use a cheap brush, it shows. Now I'm going to attempt to go in an order that makes sense. Lots of people are already laughing at me. I've got a 1-inch brush ready to go. I went ahead and just brought the sky completely down. I figured that would just give us a nice backdrop to show you these brushes. So one thing with the 1-inch brush that is probably the easiest thing you can do, you can't do it any easier with a 3/4 or with a fan. You're making background trees. Watch this. So, say we got our little sky or whatever, and you want some background misty trees. Here's what I usually do. You've probably seen me do this a lot. You get in here, you kind of do these overlapping strokes. You can kind of just raise out a tree. You can use your filbert to clean them up, but this is the way you start. See that? You just literally can just hit it down using kind of the back side of the brush. Does that make sense? Just like that, and you get instant canopy of soft trees. This is like a background maneuver. You wouldn't do this as much in the well, you can do it in the foreground too, and then just add more details to it. But could you grab a little white, just kind of scrub in some mist with this brush. Watch this, darken it up a little. This is not a painting video. This is to show you the brush strokes. I could care less about the colors. We could do it in black and white. It wouldn't matter. Isn't that cool? So basically just your quick and easy background trees. A good quality 1-inch brush gets the job done so easy compared to the other brushes. So now I'm going to show you the blender brush, but in order to do that, I kind of have to put some paint down on the canvas first, because you can't really paint with this one too well. Maybe when you're doing something like sun rays, which I could show you how to do, but I want to show you this cloud. I'm just going to take the filbert brush. You could do this with any other brush, really. I'm just going to grab the filbert brush. I'm going to glop on some slippery, I don't even know what I was going to say, some slippery wet paint that just looks terrible. This is where the blender brush shines. Well, not doing this, but fixing this. I just want to show you that if you get a big muddy mess up here, well, not so much muddy, but a big just mess, you can take that blender brush and fix it so quick and turn it into something really pretty and make it nice. I'm going to show you that. Let me set that brush down, or at least one of my favorite, not so much the best, but just one of my favorite things to do. Just take this brush, set it down. I like to use just the top of the brush and go in circles. Now, a cloud like this can be made, without blending. I do that sometimes. But when you're learning, or if you want to get a little more refined look to your painting, try the blender brush. It gets you some really soft edges with minimal effort. Look at the big chunks of paint. You just take them and blend them right away. Oh, all of a sudden it went from time to get rid of the canvas to, oh, that's not too bad. In fact, that's looking pretty nice. Isn't it great? So reach for the blender brush if you're ever worried about something that's looking a little harsh or just looking weird. Sometimes a nice soft blend is all it needs. Now we're moving on to the filbert brush here. Just going to grab some dark green, doesn't really matter. Now I think my favorite thing to do with the filbert brush is add on larger trees. I mean, you can use the filbert brush for almost everything. And it's probably my favorite brush, really. To me, it's the most versatile brush for sure. I wouldn't want to sit there and paint a whole sky with it, but I'd do just about anything else with it. It's a nice brush. You can tell, you know I like it. But anyway, what I think maybe my favorite thing to do is to kind of get these larger, I would say mid-ground trees, bushes, same difference. It's this tapping stroke. And especially as I was learning and I wasn't as comfortable with other brushes and other techniques, this technique was so easy, just the stabbing it. And they look so much more detailed than if you did them with larger brushes, you know, that give you bigger limbs. These have smaller limbs, they look more detailed. A little slower, but just a little, you know, very small amount. To me, it's well worth it. There. Of course, you know, you don't have to stop there. Slide down, give yourself a little tree trunk or two. I won't highlight or anything because the highlight's the same exact way. I'm just showing you brush strokes today. But isn't that great? See, just slide up to get a couple of nice little bits there. It's just that tapping. There's no sliding up in the canopy area. That's probably my favorite thing to show you with filbert brush. All right, I'm just finishing up here, making a big mess. Pretty good looking mess, huh? Oh boy. Just using the filbert brush, you can use anything just to lay on colors. Just some light, dark, and so on. All right, let's put that brush down. Grab a clean fan. The only brush you wouldn't want to do this with is the fan brush because you want to keep your fan brush clean. Or if you do it with your fan brush, make sure you rub it out on a paper towel really well. The point is, you want nothing in the brush because this is your palette. And you're just going to take the paint that's on your palette and literally push it upward. It was very easy for me to decide what my favorite technique is, grass, with the fan brush. It's easy for me to decide because just look at this result you get. And I'm certainly not the person that stands out here and says, you know, painting is super easy. You do have to practice at it. It doesn't just happen automatically, except this. I would say you don't really have to have experience. This just works. It's funny, it's the only technique that I know of that works without really any practice to speak of. And so, I had to show it to you. Isn't that cool? And as you come down, I do usually go ahead and end up loading just a little paint into my brush. And I'll usually go down like this, just to get some more grass, some larger grass. So, you know, big stuff in the foreground. Now we're moving on to the 3/4 flat brush. I'm going to load it up with a little bit of just brown and black. I think my favorite thing to do with this brush, I think it just really shines when it comes to painting rocks. I could do it over there. I think I'm going to just do it over here just for the sake of keeping things consistent. But I just wanted to show you how to do a couple of rocks. Now this brush works for, I mean, every brush works for so many different things. So it's so hard to do this video, but so many people have asked about, you know, specifics on the brushes. And so here we are. We're going to be specific. This is just my opinion. Your opinion probably will differ. You say, it's not as good for rocks. I like it for my cabin. Well, I agree. I think it'd be just perfect if you're painting a cabin. But this is just my opinion, so, you know. I guess it's not, it's certainly not going to be the same as a lot of people. That's okay. Shoot, it's just art, right? It's fun. It just doesn't matter. Okay, anyway, there's some rocks. It's a cluster of rocks, I guess, in the ocean or somewhere. I want to show you how to highlight. I think this brush actually really highlights well. I almost think it highlights better. You could kind of slam them in with anything, but watch what happens when you just slice over a little of that beautiful, sunlight right on top of those rocks. Kind of got a grassy color to it. Maybe I'll add just a little red just for the sake of changing it up. There. By the way, I mean, I know this one isn't going to be on the website, but I've got a lot of other original paintings for sale, including last week's is actually still available, at least as of the time I'm filming this. If you're interested, definitely go to the website and check out the original paintings for sale. I don't know how long we're going to offer them. They're available right now. I'm just trying to lower my supply. I've got so many here because I paint, you know, each week for a video at least. So figured it'd be fun to let you guys enjoy them too. Anyway, there you go, rocks. Just using the chisel edge of the 3/4 brush. Now we're moving on to a newer brush. This is the 1/4 inch flat. It's exactly the same bristle as the 3/4 flat, just in a 1/4 inch size. The bristles are actually a little longer. I think, you know, if it was just shrunk down to scale. The bristles will be shorter. Actually, a lot of my students told me that the bristles needed to be longer. I listened. I agree. I think they work better, longer, a little softer. Anyway, that was more information than you wanted. Let me show you what I love doing with this brush. I think I found my new favorite mountain painting brush. To get to this point, you use whatever. I personally use the 3/4 flat because it was in my hand. You could use whatever, it doesn't matter. But once you're here, you can really go crazy. You know, you could use the detail round brush, but I like the rocky chiseled edge, you know, like if these rocks and valleys and stuff with the chiseled edge brush versus the round brush. It works better for rocks and stuff, I think. So anyway, I kind of just work my way around here and create these little ridges and valleys. Obviously, you can't do a mountain to any kind of really great quality here with the brush in just a few seconds, but it gives you an idea of the stroke. You need 4 or 5 colors, a whole bunch of different things going on. You need your mountain to be crazy, but that's not the point today, is it? But you see how you can also do some blending maneuvers there? Pretty nice. I'm just using white, a little pink actually. There, get some highlight that you can just literally carve out your mountain. Carve your highlights in with this brush. Nice, isn't it? So anyway, that is one of my favorite things to do with this 1/4 inch flat, because it's smaller. You get these more detailed areas. So easy. Compared to something that was too large. Now, if you had a huge mountain, maybe I would use a little bit of both, maybe the small and big one, but it's nice to have options, isn't it? All right, you can, not a mountain painting video, but it's, you know me, I just can't help it. It's hard to leave it sort of half finished, or at least let me get a shadow. I'll show you how to do that. You pull the shadows down, slide them down at the opposite angle of your highlight, and you get a better look that way. I just love that. Leave a little brush stroke in there. People pay extra for that sort of thing, so you don't have to smooth everything out perfectly. Well, now it's time to show you the detail round brush. I bet you guys can guess exactly what it is. I got a tree trunk up here, got my detail round brush loaded with some dark green, and I've got a lot of students that are yelling at the screen. It's comma stroke time. This is something I just couldn't pass up. I love doing comma strokes, and you guys just don't. I don't know why. It takes too much time, I don't know. Oh, but it is fun. It is so much fun. I think it's more fun because you guys kind of think it's annoying. But anyway, there's just a little bit of an X stroke or a comma. You just set the brush down, you give it a flip, side to side, move your hand around. Each one touches another, as you know. There, look at that. I'm telling you, just a few seconds, and you just have something that looks so detailed. And so this one over here is your background tree, kind of middle ground tree. Over here you got your real close-up one. And if this was in a painting, it'd probably be just a little bigger. Kind of filling up the canvas a little more. But for the sake of this, I figured it was better not to just fill everything up. Anyway, we'll just do a few more of these dark ones. So just keep continually doing these commas over and over again. The slower you go, the smaller they are, the better they look. That's kind of the tip for you. Well, that's enough of those dark ones. Let me just grab a little bit of light color on the round brush again. I'm going to simply highlight. I just wanted to show you it's really the same. You kind of start outside your dark and then work into the dark, if that makes sense. You know, you start literally to the right, in this case, of the darkest leaves. So you're going over the blue, you're not actually going over your green. And then once you're done with that, then you work it in. And what that does is it allows you to do this without creating mud. And then what happens when you go in, you start getting a little mud, but instead of calling it mud, you call it midtones. Oh, isn't that great? See? Pretty fun when you work with it instead of against it, right? Nice. And honestly, you could spend forever doing a tree like this. Well, by forever, I mean 10 minutes, and you get a really nice result. Having just spent 20 seconds almost, you know, or whatever it's been, you don't get a great result, but you certainly get something good enough to show you that these brush strokes work. The last brush I'm going to show you today, well, because it is the last brush that I offer right now, is the liner brush. And there's a lot of things you can do with the liner brush. It was not hard to pick out my favorite though. My favorite is grass. It really is. I mean, once you get, oh, by the way, here's my brush. I can't show you the palette too much because otherwise the palette just ends up on the floor, if you know what I mean. Yeah. And anyway, what I was going to say before I got way distracted was, once you kind of learn this motion of getting this grass texture down, this grass stroke, the pull up grass stroke, oh, once you learn it, and I understand it's a little tiny bit tricky to learn, once you learn it, oh, it's fun. Let me kind of give you a couple of tips. Kind of get moving in a circle. You know, think of it as a circle, not just, oh, okay, I'm going to come down here and pull up grass. Oh, I see this in my class all the time. Who else has painted grass like this? Right? Yeah, I know you guys have. I have too. But do your best to kind of think of it as one motion, just a circle. Only part of that circle touches the canvas, but it is doing a circle, as you can see. I usually do my light ones first, my dark ones second. It helps push the light ones back. But see how you can just create these beautiful little blades of grass. Occasionally you can kind of like bend one over like that and then do these little like touches of detail, like these little leaves or seed pods and stuff. I do that usually with the liner brush toward the end. But just instant detail. It's pretty cool, isn't it? Of course, those things need to be connected, so make sure you have enough blades of grass kind of going through that area that it makes sense. It doesn't have to be perfect, just needs to be good enough, right? Just close enough for the viewer to kind of see that it's a nice detailed foreground grass area. As you run out of paint, your strokes tend to get a little thinner, so use that to your advantage. But there you go. It takes practice, but once you get it, it's worth it, you know. Just take yourself a practice canvas, do a lot of grass, you know, use a good hour or two if that's what it takes. So, totally worth it. Anyway, my favorite thing to do with the liner brush, while I'm just standing here talking, you can just take some light ones and go right back over to break them up, just to add that second layer of interest. Love it. Well, hopefully this has been interesting and you learned something from this quick tip video. Be sure to check out our website, our DVDs, brush line, and also the original paintings that are now available. Thanks for watching.